All right, ladies and gentlemen, friendly reminder, you have a vocab quiz tomorrow, 1 through 20. We have a full lecture. Wednesday, you have a list quiz and a lecture. Thursday, you have a test. Your focus and your vocab are due. Your SCOTUS and your Onverse Board of Education and your Federalist 78 are due by 8:30 a.m., a.k.a. submit before Thursday. Is everyone clear? Anything digital, including your breakdown, are all due before 8:30 in the morning so I can all record them. Anything that comes in after 8:30 will be marked late, and I will happily bleed you a point. Is everyone clear? We do the same thing every week. Just like do the thing. Yes. I've given you a 6-week grace period. Like, we're done with that, yeah? Like, do your work, submit it on time, be done. All right, here we go. We are going to do Federalist 78 first. Of course, you have a highlighter because you need, oh God. You need to have a highlighter ready to go, of course, because we're doing a primary. Come on. Sorry, it keeps showing my face. You don't need to see my face. You need to see my paper. Come on. Don't be my face. Be the paper. Nice. All right, let's do Federalist 78 first, please. If you didn't have one, they're in the front of the room. All right, Federalist 78. You need to know it is the Federalist Papers. Arguing for the ratification of the Constitution. You need to know it's written by Hamilton. It's about the judicial branch. And you need to know that no Fed government under AOC. AOC stands for what? There you go. Okay, no one argued the need for a judicial branch but they argued over how and how long they will be appointed for. Box running, that's the major premise that we're dealing with here. Okay, so the how is appointed by the president, parentheses, Article 3. And then the length is during the convention. They argued that federal judges who would have life appointments will be more independent. Okay, you need to highlight only one thing on the front. You need to know, according to the plan of the convention, all judges appointed in the United States are to hold their offices during good behavior. That's all you need on the first page. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Flip it. Okay, since we have our highlighter out, we'll do our highlighting first. Second to the bottom, if the courts of the justice considered as the bulwarks of a limited constitution, you're highlighting that whole passage. You can keep it. That way you can keep track. Like for the class, of course. All right, here we go. So you're going to draw an arrow from here. Draw it up to the top. So, okay, you need to know that Federalist 51, we haven't done this one yet. Federalist number 51, parentheses Madison, he's the author, end parentheses, argued that each of the three branches need to be as independent as possible. Okay. Arrow. That is what Hamilton is arguing here. So, are the Federalist Papers working together or against each other? Together, and that's important. Another arrow, lifetime appointments. Will allow impartiality, impartiality, and not have to worry about policing the people for the sake of re-election. Another arrow, life appointments, lifetime appointments will serve practical function as well as by changing out judges all the precedent the amount of learning will be prohibitable. Okay, so being a judge is really hard. Can we agree? Okay, you have to know a ton of precedent, and you have to do law school. You have to get there, and the process of getting to being a judge is it's a very hard job to get. So to have people get to this high and just be replaced by the next political president, is that going to empower a lot of people to do it, or the very few people to do it? Few. Does that mean we're going to get the best and the brightest? Probably not. The best and brightest are going to find a more stable career, yes? You're going to invest all this time. So Hamilton is arguing that if we do not make it a lifetime appointment, we are not going to get the best and the brightest. And I don't know about you, but do I want a court judge not being the best and brightest? I want them to be, especially when they're hearing my case. Okay, here we go. You're on the next page. We're going to highlight a temporary duration in office, which would naturally discourage from quitting a lucrative line of practice and accept a seat on the bench, would have the tendency to throw the administration of justice into the hands of less able and less qualified to conduct it with utility and dignity. So that's what he's arguing. That's one of his big arguments, is that unless we make it lifetime appointments, we're not going to have the best qualified, because the best qualified could just be lawyers and have a constant pay and not have to worry about it, and that's not good for the judicial system. At the top, Hamilton argues, Hamilton argues, legislative branch checks judicial by appointments. Next one, judicial review. Ensures that the people are protected from their government, which is what Israel is dealing with at the moment. They're having huge problems over there. Courts are intermediaries between governments and the people. And then finally, the power of the people, parentheses, the legislative branch, and parentheses, are more powerful than the judicial or executive. So he's making the argument that even though we give these people lifetime appointments, the legislative branch is more powerful, so it's not something to fear. Next to this one, write a star. Okay, it's necessary for judges in order to get the best and brightest. It needs to be a lifetime appointment. Okay, flip it over. We're just on the back. Very simple. Okay, 1, you need to know lifetime appointments. So these are the 3 big things. Lifetime appointments are necessary to keep them independent and unreliant on popular will. Okay, do we want our Supreme Court swinging in the breeze with whatever president is in power? No, because if you like Biden now, great. Are you probably going to like the next one? No. If you hate Biden now, will you probably like the next one? Probably, because we know the pendulum swings back and forth, yes? Okay, 2, judicial branches. Power of judicial review. Does not make it more powerful, but balances and checks it. Three, the Federalist Papers work together to achieve a government built on democracy and balancing of power. There you go. So you need to understand that they all say, a bunch of our documents all say Federalist, but you have to understand they all actually work together. All right, you got 2 seconds. Then we're going to transition aboard. You're welcome, my darling. All right, here we go. Brown versus Board. Okay, so this is probably the most famous of the cases. Of course, you all should have heard about it way before you got to me. Okay, you need to know this is about the 14th Amendment. Okay, when in doubt, what is the Supreme Court case tied to? 14th Amendment. It usually comes back and forth down to it. Okay, here we go. This case was the consolidation of cases rising in Kansas, South Carolina, Virginia, Delaware, and Washington, D.C. relating to the segregation of public schools based on race. In each of the cases, African American students have been denied admittance into certain public schools based on laws allowing public education to be segregated by race. They argued such segregation violated the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. The plaintiffs were denied relief in the lower courts based on Plessy versus Ferguson. What is the phrase used during Plessy and Ferguson? Bronson. There we go. You need to know that Plessy versus Ferguson is going to quote, separate but equal, end quote. Which is going to justify what, Bronson? Segregation. Okay. Now, let's speak reality versus the ideal. And this is not like idealism, this is the thing. But when it says separate but equal, was it actually equal? No, that's what we're talking about, the ideal. If everything was really perfect and everything was equal, it's still horribly wrong. Do you hear what I'm saying? Hello? It's still horribly wrong. But what they were trying to say is if everything was equal in quality and money and all that stuff, then it's okay. Was in fact the actual reality of it equal? No. White people got all the nice new stuff. All the old books from white schools went to the black schools. Yes? Okay? That's what the reality of the situation was. Which held that racially segregated public facilities were legal as long as the facilities for blacks and whites were equal. This was known as separate but equal doctrine. Does the segregation of public education based solely on race violate the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment? Okay, when we are talking about Brown versus Board of Education, they are all about the Equal Protection Clause. And does the segregation of public education based solely on race violate? What's the answer? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. We know that. That's why we're all sitting together here in 2023. Okay. So, one of the big things that you have to understand this court case is really famous for is what we call judicial activism. What is judicial activism? I taught it to you on Friday. What is it, Colin?
It's like when the Supreme Court changes how the public works and operates.
There you go. So judicial activism believes the court can go against precedent if justified. Okay? Judicial activism is the believes that the court can go against precedent if justified. Okay? That is what we're seeing. What was the precedent before Brown versus Board? What is the precedent, Luke? Separate but equal. What court case lays the precedent? Yeah, Plessy versus Ferguson is the precedent. So once Brown versus Board gets here, they overturn it. That is judicial activism. 2023 Supreme Court. Are we judicially active or are we a conservative court? We're an active court. It's judicial activism is what we're seeing on the court. What precedent had been overturned by the current court, Rinkus? Roe v. Wade was overturned by the Jobs decision, which overturned 60 years of precedent. I don't care if you support abortion, hate abortion, wherever your side is, that is a big deal when a precedent gets ignored. Can we agree? When it gets changed. Now, you can argue it's a good thing, it's a bad thing, whatever you feel. I don't care. But that's judicial activism. How often do we have a court that is all about judicial activism in the majority? Not very common. Not very common. Most of your courts are what? Conservative, which means they follow the precedent. Remember, judicial activism and conservatism of a court are not political leanings. Is everyone clear? That does not indicate what their political leanings are. Right now, in 2023, we have a judicially active court. but they're going in a conservative Republican direction. Does that make sense? So one does not indicate another, and you need to be aware of that. Can you grab it for me? Okay. Separate but equal facilities for racial minorities is inherently unequal, violating the Equal Protection Clause. Jay, do you have a pass up front? For the 14th Amendment, Chief Justice Earl Warren, you need to know. I taught you about the Warren Court. What should you know about the Warren Court, Eve? They are the most what? Most liberal court ever. Okay, so the Warren Court is very famous. Okay, the unanimous decision. How often do you think we have a unanimous decision? Rare. Okay, so when we overturned Roe versus Wade last year, okay, actually about 2 years ago at this point, okay, about a year and a half maybe. Okay, once it got overturned, it was won by a 5-4 decision, which means the Supreme Court is split, but who is in the majority? The ones who overturned, the conservatives on the court, were the ones who win. It's a 5-4 decision. Most of your decisions on the Supreme Court usually win by like 6-3, 5-4. They're usually pretty split. Is everyone clear? So how unique is it that it's unanimous? Very, especially when it's so impactful because of its judicial activism. Is everyone clear? It is actively changing a precedent that had been sitting for 76 years at the time, and they're going to flip it over, and everyone's going to agree on it. That is a huge landmark decision. You do understand that all the 14 Supreme Court cases that I teach you are all precedents, right? They're the big cases. We're not teaching you the stupid little piddly stuff that doesn't have a huge impact. We're only dealing with precedential cases, which means once it's set, everything after changes, yes? So these are the big ones. This is probably the biggest, of course. All right. Unanimous of the court. The Supreme Court held that separate but equal facilities are inherently unequal and violate the protections of the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. Okay? That is absolutely factual. We understand that. But that is not what the entire ruling is based on. This is what makes it unique. The court reasoned that segregation of public education based on race instilled a sense of inferiority. That is how they got all judges to persuade to vote against and overturn precedent. This unique component. Because are they dealing with just factual cases anymore? No. They're now dealing with a social issue that has been created by the courts. Is everyone seeing why this is unique? They are stepping out of their box of just talking about law. They're now looking at the social impacts of how the law affects individuals. That's what makes this case special. That had a hugely detrimental effect on the education and personal growth of African American children. Warren based much of his opinion on the information from social science studies rather than court precedent. How often do you think that happens? Like never, ladies and gentlemen. The decision is also used language that was relatively accessible to non-lawyers because Warren felt it was necessary for all Americans to understand its logic. We've all read really hard, really intense, specific verbiage to a specific profession, and it's really hard to get through. Can we agree? They specifically made it essentially dumbed down for the regular people like you and me who are not lawyers to read the court case so they can understand why they're changing the entire societal fabric of the United States. Guys, this ruling, Brown versus Board of Education, is going to affect, obviously, all government public schools, all dining areas, the military, for God's sake. It literally is going to change every single aspect of the country, and they wanted it to be easily read and understandable. That it's not just a court thing, it's also a societal component. That we're teaching these kids they're inferior, and that goes against the fundamental foundation of America. That's why this court case is a big deal. All right, here we go. You need to know it is actively made for political and social reasons. Okay? So it's not just based on precedent, it's throwing away precedent. It's based on social and political factors. So what's the impact? It overturned Plessy versus Ferguson. No segregation. Okay, you need to know it's the beginning of civil rights movement. You also need to know it was slowly integrated, but it does occur. Okay, now you should know your history about this. Does everyone all around the whole country open their doors from white school to a mixed school? No, absolutely not. It takes almost 15 years for it to actually be fully implemented. And in some states, they have to have the National Guard escort black children into schools to desegregate. Yeah. You've seen the photos, right? Where you have white people screaming at little black children walking by in front of them carrying their little lunch boxes. You've seen those photos. That's what we're referring to here. It's not a quick change. Americans are going to fight this all the way through the court system, and then they're just going to stand out front of schools. Anyway, just so you have a visual. 14th, what constitutional principles demonstrate racial segregation in schools were a violation of the Equal Protection Clause, separation was inherently unequal. It did damage to the psyche of black students. Okay, flip it over. It is going changes the political, social, and economic structure of the U.S. Okay, I'm going to give you 2 minutes to submit these on Canvas. Do this now. What? Yes. Okay, as soon as you are done, how much time do I have? 3 minutes? Perfect. Take out your notebook. Let's do it. Why? We're not going to sit here and waste our time. Let's do it. Top of your notes, ladies and gentlemen, write the judiciary or the judicial system, week 6. At the top of your notes, write the judicial branch, week 6. Okay, you need to know, and you're writing down, you need to know there is no judicial branch under the AOC. There is no judicial branch under the AOC. So it was created under the Constitution. What article? Article 3. Write it down. So you need to know that there was no judicial branch under the Articles of Confederation. They're going to create one in the Constitution. It's going to be known as Article 3. You need to know there's only one court created in the Constitution. What court is it, Jade? Supreme Court. Write it down. There's only one court created in the Constitution. It is the Supreme Court. You need to know that the Supreme Court has 9 justices. The Supreme Court has 9 justices. Who appoints them? The president appoints them. Write it down. The Supreme Court has 9 justices. The president appoints them. And Mary Bell, who approves them? Who confirms them? Senate. Write it down. The Senate confirms them. You need to know that the president can only fill a vacancy. How does it become vacant on the Supreme Court, Tula? Die or retire. Most of them die, actually. Isn't that so dark? Sure, Oliver, thank you for that. Yes, you are correct. They like the power of it. Okay, who is the last Supreme Court justice to die in office? Rinkus. Yeah, it's RBG. Ruth Bader Ginsburg. You don't need to write this down. RBG is going to be the most liberal Supreme Court justice ever in history. She is going to be the 2nd woman on the court ever. All right, you need to know that most presidents do not appoint a justice.
Good morning, teachers and students. Pardon the interruption. When the bell rings, juniors, last names N through Z, will report to the auditorium after checking in with the 3rd period teacher. Again, juniors, last names N through Z, please check in with your 3rd period teacher.
Okay, you need to know the Supreme Court was created to solve 2 problems. Bye. Bye. Have a good day. Oh my God. Once again, we got so much done. Isn't that nice? So nice. We use every moment of every day. Love it, love it, love it. Don't you? Isn't it nice you're not doing it at home? I think it's nice. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a good day.
Bye. Have a good day.
You too. Bye, Mia.
Have a nice day.
Thank you. You too, Alexandria.
Come on,
I don't know if I passed these out to you, so you may have to grab them.
What is it?
Brown versus Board and Federalist
No,
78.
you did not.
Can
Did you say Federalist 78?
Yeah.
I think we got 78. Did we already do 78?
I don't know.
Oh,
No, we haven't done 78. I know we haven't
we
done
did the
it.
expert. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm only doing one Supreme Court case this week.
Oh yeah, it's only one.
Okay, cool.
Guys, grab what you need in the front. I think you have Federalist 78, but I think you need Brown.
Do I leave now? 'Cause I have
No, you gotta check in. You probably have Federalist 78. You probably just need Board. This classroom is not. It's only gonna get worse.
not, but
You probably need Board of Education. It's in the front. Everyone should have out there. Do now. Let's go. We got a lot to do. What?
you from my desk.
Okay, then put it underneath your desk. I don't know. I don't want them. You probably just need Board. You probably picked up 78 already. It's fine. I got plenty of 78. Why? I know. Sit down for just a moment, and I'll send you out your way. I'm waiting for the bell to ring.
oh, okay. We have to be like okay.
Well, that way I can do my attendance. Roth.
You know what here?
Oh, well. Joseph Roth's here, but I'm going to make you sit because I know Roth, right? Oh, my God. Let's go. Take out your breakdown. All of this is on the back of your breakdown. It's literally right there. I like your shirt. That's your due now. You should be working on it while I take attendance so Miss Roth can go because she's very stressed out. Is it that exciting, Miss Roth? Oh my God. Well, then they.
What? You're going about this period. This is the worst period to have. I know.
All right, he's gone. No one is behind. All right, if you need to go, you can go. See, Miss Roth, you survived. You survived. If you have to go, go. But I'm like leaving you behind. I'm doing Brown versus Board. I'm doing Federalist 78, and you got a vocab quiz. Oh. I already have. Oh, no, actually, I think I'm still recording. Funny. So you can listen to this